$445 million. That is how much money investors handed a startup whose plan was to have robots assemble pizzas and delivery trucks, bake them on the way to your door. At its peak, that startup was valued at $2.25 billion, more than many airlines. It never mattered. The company was undone by three enemies no pitch deck mentioned: melting cheese, county health codes, and fourth-grade arithmetic. Today on Collapse, we open the file on Zume, the most expensive pizza experiment in human history. This is a documented case study in what happens when venture capital decides that adding technology to a product automatically makes it a technology company. Keep that idea in your pocket. You will see it again before this video ends. Why spend 10 minutes on a pizza company that died years ago? Because the mechanism that killed Zume is not historical. It is the most common way capital gets destroyed in a hype cycle, and more money is flowing through that exact mechanism right now in the AI boom than at any point in history. The mechanism is simple to state and weirdly hard to see. Automation only creates value when it attacks the expensive part of a business. Zume automated the cheap part, wrapped it in a technology story, and priced itself like software. Learn to spot that move and you will recognize it in companies being funded this quarter. And if you own an index fund or a pension, some of the money making that move is, indirectly, yours. Chapter 1. The Idea. Zume was founded in Mountain View in 2015 by Julia Collins and Alex Garden, a former president of the gaming giant Zynga. The pitch was genuinely seductive. Pizza is a $50 billion a year market in America, and every pizza has two cost problems: the labor to make it and the miles between a hot oven and your door. Zume would solve both at once. Industrial robots would assemble pies at superhuman speed in a central kitchen. Then the uncooked pizzas would ride in special trucks fitted with dozens of ovens, and an algorithm would fire each oven at exactly the right moment, so your pizza finished baking as the truck reached your street. Fresher than Domino's, cheaper than humans, patented as baking on the way. On a whiteboard, it was brilliant. The whiteboard, however, does not have to drive over potholes. Chapter 2. The Machines. Zume's kitchen was a real engineering achievement, and the robots even had names. Machines dispensed and pressed the dough, a robot called Marta spread the sauce in a perfect spiral, and a heavy industrial arm called Bruno lifted pies into an 800-degree oven with a motion smoother than any human line cook. The company said its doughbot could press a pizza base in 9 seconds. Then came the fleet, delivery trucks carrying as many as 56 ovens each, networked to GPS, so that baking could be timed to the minute of arrival. Journalists toured the facility and wrote glowing profiles, and to be fair, the robots mostly worked. Remember that, because it matters for the lesson. Zume is not a story about technology failing. Every robot did its job. The failure lived one layer up, where the technology met the product. Chapter 3. The Flaw. Put an uncooked pizza in a moving truck and heat it, and something ancient happens. Melted cheese behaves like a liquid. Every turn, every hard break, every pothole sent sauce and cheese sliding toward the edge of the pie. Customers were paying premium prices for pizzas that arrived looking like abstract art. Engineers tried to fix it, and reporting on the company described a long fight against sloshing cheese that Zume never fully won. Then regulators showed up with a second problem. Health rules in its home county were not written for kitchens doing 35 miles an hour, and reports described trucks that had to stop before ovens could safely run, which quietly deleted the entire baked on the way advantage. The core patent, the thing that justified the valuation, was being vetoed by cheese and county code. Chapter 4. The Money. By late 2018, none of those problems were solved. That did not stop the biggest check in food robotics history. SoftBank's Masayoshi Son, fresh from anointing WeWork, invested $375 million, valuing Zume at $2.25 billion. The logic was pure vision fund. Find a founder with a giant story, hand him more capital than the market ever demanded, and let scale sort out the details. Alex Garden was now telling reporters Zume would become something like an Amazon of food, a platform any restaurant would use for automated cooking and delivery prediction. Notice what happened to the pizza. It quietly became a mere demo of a much bigger dream, because a pizza chain is worth 1 multiple of revenue and a food platform is worth 20. The product had stopped being the product. The story was the product now. Chapter 5. The arithmetic, and this is the heart of the file. Walk through the cost of a delivered pizza. Ingredients, maybe a couple of dollars. The driver and the last mile, the single most expensive slice. Marketing, because pizza is a commodity in a knife fight with Domino's, which had spent decades and billions perfecting exactly this logistics problem. And what did Zume's robots eliminate? A few minutes of make-line labor, worth perhaps $1 or $2 per pie. To capture that saving, Zume bought industrial robot arms and built custom trucks that reportedly cost hundreds of thousands of dollars each, carrying 56 ovens that regulators barely allowed to run. The machine was amortizing millions to save pennies in a market where the customer will defect for a $2 coupon. No engineering review flagged it because it is not an engineering failure. It is a spreadsheet failure. Chapter 6. The Unraveling. In January 2020, the story hit the arithmetic at full speed. Zume announced it was exiting the pizza business entirely, laying off more than half its workforce, hundreds of people, in a single restructuring. The robots went dark. The truck fleet, the ovens, the baking patents, all of it was abandoned. What remained pivoted to the least science fiction product imaginable: compostable packaging, molded fiber trays and bowls, built on a company it had acquired called, with perfect irony, Pivot Packaging. Understand what that pivot admitted. A business valued at $2.25 billion for its automated food platform was now saying the most valuable thing it could do with its remaining cash was make sustainable takeout containers. The $375 million thesis had not been adjusted. It had been erased. Chapter 7. The End. The packaging business was real but ordinary, a decent idea competing on thin margins against established manufacturers, which is exactly the kind of business venture capital cannot make returns on at a $2 billion cost basis. In mid-2023, out of money and out of story, Zume shut down for good, and its remaining assets were handed to a liquidator. There was no documentary, no congressional hearing. A company that had raised $445 million simply stopped existing, and the tech press gave it a single news cycle. That silence matters. Spectacular frauds get movies. Honest failures of arithmetic get a paragraph, which is exactly why the lesson never gets learned, and why the same mistake keeps getting funded under new vocabulary. Chapter 8. Zoom out, because Zume was not an accident. It was one instance of a repeatable SoftBank-era pattern. Take a low-margin commodity business, office space, construction, pizza. Wrap it in technology vocabulary, platform, algorithm, automation. Then price it like software, at multiples reserved for businesses with 70% margins and zero marginal cost. WeWork did it with real estate and reached $47 billion. Katerra did it with construction and burned about $2 billion. Zume did it with pizza. In every case, the technology was real, the demos were impressive, and none of it changed the underlying margin structure of the commodity underneath. Software multiples on hardware economics is one of the most reliable capital destruction machines ever discovered. It has now destroyed more money than most wars. Chapter 9. Bring it home to today. Right now, thousands of startups are pitching AI-powered everything. Some are transformative. The doomed ones are Zume with better vocabulary, and this file gives you a filter that works in one question. What line item does the automation actually attack, and how big is it? AI that replaces a $300 an hour task is attacking real cost. AI bolted onto a business where the expensive parts are physical, regulated, or competitive is decorating the cheap part of the spreadsheet. The robots will demo beautifully. The margins will not move. When you hear a founder describe a commodity business as a platform, you are not hearing a business plan. You are hearing a valuation request. Let's close the file. Zume raised $445 million, touched a $2.25 billion valuation, and was defeated by sliding cheese, a county health code, and the cost structure of a $10 pizza. The robots worked. The trucks drove, the story soared, and none of it mattered, because no amount of engineering can rescue a business that automates the cheapest part of its own product. The next Zume will not sell pizza. It will sell something wrapped in this year's vocabulary, and it will raise even more because hype cycles reward the story until physics and arithmetic vote last. They always vote last. That is the machine economy, and you are living in it. Subscribe now, because tomorrow on The Stack, we follow the one resource the entire AI boom is quietly running out of: electricity, the new oil.